Hey, thanks so much for opening up this video. I know you're going to find a ton of value from this conversation. And this one had a really special place in my heart because it was with Michael Neo, who's been a lifelong mentor and man that I've looked up to. And something I've always noticed about Michael is how he's very, very thoughtful about how he treats people, and whether that's, customers, partners, people in the community, or people that are learning, and getting started with their own journeys. Michael's always been really, really thoughtful about taking care of people. And he talks about that in the conversation, but he also talked about how, regardless of whether, like, what type of entrepreneur you are or where you are in your journey, I think you'll be able to kind of relate to this, is that these insane challenges and roadblocks that Michael has experienced on his journey to become who he is today and how he overcame those different roadblocks, I think that you'll be able to draw parallels to that and extract lessons from it, because we've all kind of been there before where there's been something really, really hard or challenging that's happened in your life. And that feeling of it's scary, right? If there's so much unknown and there's like that fog of war and you don't really know what to do or how to navigate through it, but you just kind of keep on moving forward and putting your best foot forward and thinking about the person on the other side, just thinking about taking care of people and trusting that things will line up and go into the right direction. So yeah, like I said, I think that you guys are going to really enjoy this conversation. And I'm sorry about the background noise. You'll notice there's a lot of cuts, so there's a little bit more editing in this video. And so I try to cut out the background noise. But, like I said, the value from this conversation, I think, will far outweigh that. It's a great, great conversation. So thank you so much to Michael for taking the time to do this. And I'll also, of course, leave his website link in the description of the video and on this page. So if you're in the dental space, definitely go check out Michael's website. But with that said, enjoy the conversation. Awesome. Yeah, this is going to be great. And I'm so excited because, like, I know that, like, all the great, like, impact and drive right now, and where you are, in your career, and how you're able to help so many dental practices. But I'm so curious. I mean, I've actually, I've never really gotten to learn more about your story and your journey to how you kind of got here. And I'm sure that, yeah, you just had a lot of amazing experiences along the way that kind of shaped you, and that kind of, I'm always so curious to, like, learn what kind of started that passion for people, and, like, how they use that energy to go and make so much, impact with their careers, later on. And so I'm so excited to talk to you about this, because we've known each other for so long, but I've never gotten to, learn about your story, and how you got started with all this. And so I'm really just personally, like, excited to learn about your journey. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, yeah, of course, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your curiosity. It's my journey is a bit unique with regards to how started in dentistry. I was brought up by my father, who was a civil engineer, and throughout my whole entire life, company picnics, everybody knew that Michael was going to be a civil engineer. And so when I applied to colleges, I got accepted to the College of School of Engineering at UOP in Stockton undergrad. And unfortunately, my first year in that program, I really didn't like it. And being a dutiful son, it was a very hard and difficult decision to share at a dinner during my Christmas break that I did not want to pursue a engineering career. All our dinners are pretty long, but this one was a little bit longer than most. And all my parents were supportive, disappointed, but supportive, and said, as long as you finish your college and have a degree, because there's no such thing as a pre-dental degree, in 4 years, and you're going to be responsible for your dental school education. I go, all right. So I was all in. I took a lot of summer courses, took a lot of 21 units in college. So with all the science courses, so I was really dedicated and passionate to it. UOP was a feeder school to UOP Dental School. In fact, one of my best friends and fraternity brothers was the son of the dean of the school. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't really care about that at the time, but it was nice because I really understood dentistry and He was one of my mentors, as he was to so many other people. And then I applied to school. I finished my degree in psychology. I did very well in psychology. In fact, the dean of the psychology department was going to offer me a scholarship to do graduate work. And he asked me point blank, what do you want to do moving forward? And I said, well, I'm going to apply to dental school and I'm going to apply to psychology program. And he goes, if you had a choice, which one, you got accepted to both, which one would you do? And I said, dental school. And it so happened that I did get accepted to UOP Dental School. Very excited about it. And then I became a dentist.
Wow, oh my God. And so like what were there any kind of things from like that you learned from, studying psychology that you think kind of helped you in your career, helped you be successful in dentistry and in the career that you built today?
Oh, absolutely. That's the whole purpose of me taking a psychology course. First of all, I loved it because it was a study of people. It was a study of social interactions, um, behavior modification. I love behavior modification because it was all about self improvement of your of what you can do. It talked about how to achieve things and goal setting. It really molded a mindset of mine, which is if you put your mind to it, you can pretty much do anything. You just have to have systems in place. You have to be disciplined. You have to have passion. So I took a couple courses because it was a GE requirement for engineering, and it transferred over. And I looked at all the courses that I had units in, and psychology was one of the easier paths to get a degree per my parents' request. And so, no, I love psychology. That's why if dentistry didn't work out for me, I would have been a clinical psychologist.
Like what was it like with the like civil engineering? Like what part of it was it, that you didn't really like rub you right? Was it because of like uh, maybe just feel like you had all these pressures that you had to do this, or what was it about it that you're like, oh, like I don't really want to do this, and maybe like I think I want to try dentistry.
Right. Well, a couple things. I didn't. I didn't. I thought going to school for four. Well, this was a 5 year program that involved internships. It was all year round, and I thought that was a long time to go to school for one thing. But as most of us know, after your first year, it just flies by. College just flies really by. The I think the environment that I had, it wasn't very collegiate. It was basically I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to keep my information to myself. It wasn't collaborative. A lot of respects. Unfortunately, the student population was very competitive, which I don't mind competition. I love competition, but it was to the point where we're not learning together. It was in a community, and the fraternity I joined was there were a lot of pre-dental students, and they were just a lot of fun and they were a lot of engaging. So dentistry was hard, but I enjoy it. And I think anything that you enjoy, it doesn't matter how hard it is. I think you'll be successful in it.
Wow, yeah. And like, I mean, I'm curious, I mean, too, to learn more about like your college experience and what that was like. I mean, I know you mentioned like the fraternity. I mean, I was in a fraternity as well during college. And I felt like it was such an awesome experience, like to get a well-rounded college experience. 'Cause I don't think, like a lot of the stuff that you learn in college isn't just about like the classroom. It's about like how you have interactions with other people, and and a lot of times, like you were saying, I mean, in the fraternity, it's like other students that are really driven and they're passionate about their different things and getting to share ideas with other people that are kind of in the same kind of like stage with you, and just going through this journey. People are trying to find themselves. I think that um, yeah, the college is such a well-rounded experience because of that, and I felt like being in a fraternity was helpful for me for sure. Yeah, I would love to learn more
Oh,
about your college experience.
you bet. College was a lot of fun. Obviously, I was dedicated because I had to accelerate my program within 4 years because I had to graduate in 4 years. And I had kind of a late start because I was doing a lot of engineering requirements. But the fraternity was very helpful. It was a brotherhood, as obviously by definition. But these are relationships you form for life. Everybody is supportive. It's a family within family. And college and life can be difficult during those formative years, and it's nice to have a group of people that really love you, that really care about you, and that will basically have your back and genuinely care for one another. So that's great. And as you know, I have two boys, and I always have encouraged them to enjoy the college experience. Unfortunately, their college experiences had COVID, as well as yours did, and so that was a bummer because part of college, in my belief, is not just the academics and the education; it's the connections you build, it's the contacts and the personal growth experiences that you're created that will help you be a better and stronger and more successful person in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's like inspiring too. I mean, like I mean, that was not the easy path, right? But that was like a path that like you grew a ton. I mean, making that transition and that switch, like what kind of helped you? How did you like kind of gather that inner strength to like take that leap and be like, like this doesn't feel right, and this is going to be a lot of work to make this switch. And I mean, and then of course like all of the big pressures from family and like, expectations. And how did you, yeah, what did you kind of tell yourself? Like, how did you make that choice and kind of gather that inner strength to be like, this is what I want to do. This is really right.
Absolutely. Uh, I think there comes in a point and generally in most people's lives when they go through college education that it's go time. Enough fooling around. Oh, it doesn't matter. When we're in high school, there's certain places you're like, I don't care. Uh, you don't want to hear that from your own sons, but you know that you said that when you were in that situation. But this was the future, and I grew up in very modest means, and I lived in an area that was and been in educational settings where people were very successful, and I really wanted to be that. I was an immigrant, and so my work ethic was strong. I had to work generally harder for a lot of other things that a lot of my friends would just easily get, and because uh, the expectations of my family were so strong, and because I sidestepped that, I didn't want to fail in their eyes. I was a very dutiful son.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I mean, I would love to learn more about that too, Michael. I mean, like your family and like, yeah, like mentioned you being an immigrant and yeah, what that was like growing up. Like, what was your family like? Like, what was the house kind of like growing up? I'd love to learn more about that.
It was very disciplined, like most Asian cultures. Um, Unfortunately, they didn't understand the American education. So applying for colleges, I had to do it on my own. A lot of my son's generation, they had a lot of help. They had tutors, they had test preps, they had admissions people that could be hired to make their application be more presentable and more appealing. So basically, I did it on my own. My upbringing was that I had to work. So I had a job very early in life and didn't have an allowance. The money I made was the money I made, and so I always worked. I always went to school. I was expected to do well in school. I was expected to take on a sport. I was expected to work. And so I think that's obviously why I have the work ethic I do, why I have the passion I have, all attributed to the upbringing that my parents. I didn't enjoy it at the time, but I do appreciate it now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, Forge and Fire, right? There's like so much, all those things you have to juggle and everything. But I mean, I'm sure that that's really like, I mean, help build you as like, your character as an entrepreneur too. And I mean, starting a business and starting your own practice, like, I mean, that there's so many moving parts to that, and you had to do all of that yourself and get that all moving. And what was it like after college and starting? What was that journey like to start your own practice?
Yes, it was great. Again, a lot of my classmates had parents and relatives who were in dentistry, so they just segued right into their practice. Um, Basically, I graduated in June. At the time, our dental requirements for licensure was basically over a 7 day period with live patients. People would fail if their patients didn't show up. It wasn't because they weren't great clinicians. or if something just didn't go right in private practice. If it doesn't go right, you pivot. But in these exams, that was it's make or break, and that in itself was a very interesting learning experience, and I I hated it back then, just like certain things, but I loved it. I love reminiscing. All my classmates, all the colleagues of our generation will always reflect on the difficulty of that test and how you know proud we are to accomplish that. So during that testing time, Enzo, we wouldn't know our if we got accept if we passed until we got an mail, snail mail, until we got an envelope in the mail saying, here's what your score is. So a lot of people recommended that you don't look for a job, you don't look for an opportunity until August. Well, again, me being hardwired, that wasn't going to work. I got to work right away. So I worked a summer job, but during that time, I just went through the phone book. I went through every single name in the phone book and asked if they could benefit from an associate or what their plans were. Ideally, I was supposed to actually buy a practice from a family friend, but unfortunately, life circumstances changed, so he wasn't in a position to sell his practice. I knew coming out right out of the gates, I wanted to own my own practice, because it's like no different than renting, right? You want to own your own home as soon as possible. That's how I was raised and what have you. And I have confidence. UOP is an amazing dental school. It's known for producing great clinicians and people that are very entrepreneurial in general spirit. And so that was where I was hardwired, and that's what I was going to do. And so in August, I was lucky enough to pass. At that time, the pass rate was a little less than 50%. So you never know. After I took the test, I felt pretty confident about it. But again, you never know. And then I was lucky enough, and I started my job. It was a Friday that I got the acceptance. I believe it was August 4th or 9th. I'm not sure. It was early August, and I started that Monday. And I had a schedule. I worked at the dental school for a day. I associated at another practice for a day, and I associated another practice for 3 days. And then that 3-day opportunity became an opportunity for a partnership. I went in that partnership for about 5 years, and then I decided to go on my own. We had different goals. We had different focus. So I went ahead and opened up a brand new practice, built it out, brought my patients with me, and then everything was great until I hurt myself.
God.
So
Yeah. Wow, Michael. I mean, then that was the next thing too. I mean, I wanted to ask you about. I mean, just because I'm with your injury, going through that whole arc of all that work and built up your practice, and it's going super well. And then, I mean, I understand that you had a back injury that interrupted your practice. And I was wondering if you could tell us more about like that challenge and how
yeah,
it kind of affected your career path and how you like what were you kind of thinking of in that moment like in terms of like personal growth and like you've had this whole journey of like figuring it out like okay I'm gonna pivot, I'm gonna adjust, I'm gonna keep on moving forward, and how did you again gather the strength to do that, because I'm hurting your like having a back injury like that that's been crazy, so
right.
I would love to hear about that and how you overcame all that.
Sure. Absolutely. It was, life has many moments that will either break you or make you stronger. And this one physically broke me, but emotionally made me stronger. My injury was a herniated disc, C6, C7 in the neck. And unfortunately, I came back from skiing, didn't feel right, a little sore. Then went to a physician. She asked me to take a CT scan, and then that uh, uh, radiograph, they asked me to take an MRI, and then that's where all heck broke loose. And I was seeing a neurologist and an orthopedist, and tried to modify my work schedule, tried to do a lot of physical therapy. Um, did not want to take pain medication because obviously I one, I'm not a big fan of taking medication. Two, I'm practicing, so that's definitely not appropriate. And so I remember that day when my neurologist said, I think you might need to reinvent yourself. You're young. I understand you have two young boys. We do not want to fuse your whole entire neck by the age of 50. Um, so that is when the world was like, oh my gosh, who would have ever thought? So I looked at a lot of different options. I loved the business of dentistry. I loved, I was very curious. I loved technology. I was very blessed and very lucky to have a lot of great interactions. I was very involved in dentistry, both through organized dentistry, through technology. You know, back in the late 90s, the technological boom of dentistry really soared. Adhesion dentistry was there, digital radiography, all this stuff was pretty amazing. Illumination, high magnification, all this stuff. I just loved it. I had a lot of consultants in my life. I always believed in consulting and advisors. And so through those relationships, I was an independent contractor to lecture for them and to speak for technology. And so I had a natural opening to go into a consulting path. And so I went back to teaching at UOP Dental School just to find myself what I'm going to do. I had a couple friends that were venture capitalists that had connections at the Stanford MBA and Harvard. And I thought if I wanted to go into business, I had to get an MBA. But back then, you know, MBAs, hope no one gets offended by me saying this, but MBAs degrees are a dime a dozen now. And back then, it was really starting to get not as special, no matter what school you went to. But then all of a sudden, I had a lot of people reach out to me and ask for advice. And as a colleague and a professional, I would always give my advice freely, and I'm happy to give my advice and love to share information. That's what we do in our profession. We all want to get better, and we all want to grow from those pieces of information. So very collaborative spirit. And other people would say, gosh, you know, Michael, you're not practicing, you know, what do I owe you? And I go, gosh, you don't owe me anything. You just, you know, be happy. And then I get checks on my desk saying, thank you, hope you feel better, appreciate it. And just organically, I was just giving advice and getting paid for giving advice. Through the dental school, it was great. I love the energy of the young students there. It was fun to be around, but not having to hurt myself by doing it. A lot of times, unfortunately, in dental school, it was a little tiring to teach because instead of taking care of one patient, you were overseeing 10 patients. And then I went to the lecture room a little bit, and it was kind of tough to stand up for long periods of time. And I was I won the faculty award for second years. Because I just wanted to be dedicated to helping people, and it was fun, and it was as much for them as it was a lot for me, because I really appreciated being in that environment, because I missed dentistry. I missed seeing people get cared for in that manner. And so all of a sudden, I had a consulting group called the Pride Institute, which I was a client of, and they are the golden standard of education. And so I went in, I reached out to the CEO of that company, and I found a position in their transition department where they buy and sell practices and all that good stuff. And that's where I met Hi Smith. I knew of Hi during the time because, of course, Pride Institute is the golden standard. And then I met him, wonderful man. Just so knowledgeable of so many things. I just was like a sponge, like a little puppy dog, following him all around. And we co-traveled together, and he was very positive about my innate ability to do things. And just because of my background and my personal experiences, he felt that, gosh, you do great. So I worked with Pride, the Institute, for a little less than a year. But I've always been, as you realized probably early in this podcast. And so I've been always entrepreneurial. I've always had kind of done my thing. And so I shared with him, I said, I think I like to do this on my own. I was doing some management consulting. I was doing some transition consulting. And he said, Michael, I think you're going to be great at it. And and we've developed a friendship. He supported me, and he was just wonderful about it. You would think that someone like him would say, why are you leaving us, and why would you do? He is a great, and still is a great person, great man, and just understands the industry of dentistry back then so well, and we kept in touch as recently as when his birthday was just recently. So no, that was great, and as I proceed with my consulting career with the three buckets of transition management and legal, it's just been a real joy to take care of the complete person, the whole person. I've formed relationships for month to month. As you know, my consulting arrangements are month to month, and I have clients for 21 years. And you get to know a lot about a person over 21 years, about their children, their family, all the aches and pains of just life. And it's been a special relationship that I've been able to form, and I love it. I just absolutely love it.
That's so amazing, Michael. I mean, with that that kind of topic of mentorship, I'm kind of curious, like in how you think about mentorship, or what do you think kind of makes a really good mentor, and like what are those kind of pieces that make a really good mentor? I mean, to me personally, like you've been a phenomenal mentor. Like as I've been starting my business and starting Prism, and like you've been saying, you've been mentoring so many people throughout your whole entire career, and then you've had these mentors of your own, like amazing mentors like Ty Smith. And so, yeah, I would love to pick your brain a little bit about that. Like, what are the characteristics that make a really good mentor? And, yeah, I'm really curious.
Yeah. I had a terrific dean, Arthur A. Degoni, which is the namesake of the school. It was UP Dental School, and then became the Degoni School of Dentistry, and he was a mentor. And I remember one of the things that he always professed: be involved. And of course, he was very pro organized dentistry. And time, talent, and treasure, the three T's. Give yourself of your time, give yourself of your talent, and give yourself of your treasures. And that's been a mantra. That's a current mantra of the Degoni Dental School. But I changed the mantra a bit when I was younger. It was that it was important to give of my hands. So picking up garbage in a park, giving up my time. I donated my time to the San Mateo County Hospital to work with children once a month. I brought my assistant. I brought my materials, and there was a long line, and it's just come on in and just work. It was so gratifying. And then of course, everybody likes a check to have written too. So those are the three things I've always been very focused on. One of the things that Dr. Degoni would always say would be that you are going to be a pillar of your society, and as a pillar of society comes responsibilities. And I take those responsibilities pretty strongly. With regards to your specific question of the qualities of a mentor, is that because of all the mentors I have had, and because of all the wonderful, wonderful things I've received and learned and experienced from these mentors, I think it was a natural, organic progression that I became a mentor, because I'm watching that walk of life. And like with your children, hopefully you lead by example. And with those mentors, they led by example. And as you know, I was very involved at Bellarmine, and I love seeing young people, because young people have the whole world in front of them. I love caring for people. I love seeing them be successful at all stages of their life, for that matter. But the youth of today, and that's why I'm so involved with the dental school presently, is that it's just exciting. When I interview a potential candidate for our school and see how accomplished they have been, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, and everything ahead of them. I think the qualities of a great mentor are people that you want to emulate, that you want to be that person, that you want to be like that person. So that would be one of I think, as opposed to maybe the qualities of a mentorship, what are you looking for in a mentor? What could I give advice on people that want to find a mentor? when my sons were younger, especially, as you know, Michael, um, I read a lot about self-improvement, about just bettering your life. And one of the books I read was saying that as a father, and I have a father of two boys, obviously, and so I want to raise great sons, that they have another male figure to mentor. And I had one of my best friends from dental school take him, who's a periodontist, take him to his office during the summertime when he was 12. He still has this little picture of him, of Michael Jr. in his scrubs. And it's so cute and fun to think about. And we talk about it all the time. Um, but, but you want people to have the same values and the same skill sets, but mainly to be passionate about it. You know, a lot of professors may not have the time to mentor you because of other factors. But I think a great mentor is someone that's passionate about what they're doing, someone that you want to proceed into that particular venue or field or unique talent or contribution that they make in their life. But no, I'm very pro mentorship. I think you have to pay forward, you have to give back, and that makes the next generation that much better.
Yeah, that's so powerful, Michael. I mean, our audience for this is a lot of them are, you know, like dental practice owners, who are entrepreneurs, but also
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs outside of that as well, in other kind of markets. And I think that all that the advice that you've been giving is so applicable. It's applicable to any kind of marketing. Just, you know, there's all this unknown. It's just really hard, you know, being an entrepreneur, and you've gone through this whole journey and felt all those things and those hardships and overcome them. And I mean, as we wrap up here, I want to be conscious of your time, and I was curious, like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's starting out, or who's early in their career, an entrepreneur, a dentist starting out their first practice? What are the most important things to focus on, or what advice would you give?
Yes, that's a great question, and there's so much about that question. I'm kind of going all over the place, but I have a lot of sayings, and one of those sayings, you don't know what you don't know, and and be curious, reach out to advisors, create a team around you. That's definitely number one. You know, with my injury, if I didn't have those advisors, if I didn't have my faith, if I didn't have a strong sense of value of family, and I didn't have the alumni that I had at the dental school, you know, there would be it would be a whole different story. And so I always say, surround yourself with really great people. Number two is start your practice. There's so many things that are influence our industry, that a lot of dentists aren't going out on their own anymore. They're going into corporations. There's nothing wrong with those corporations, of course, but so many people have this misnomer that I need to pay back my student debt because student debt has increased significantly since I've been in dental school. And they think I need to pay down that debt. But just like renting an apartment, it's better to own a home. Um, just like being an associate in a practice, in my personal opinion, for most people, from a financial point of view and a quality of life point of view, it's better to own your own practice. So I would look at that, depending on what school you go to or what residency program you've come out of. Generally, you should be equipped clinically to teach dentistry, and that's why it's called a dental practice. You're practicing every day for decades. And when you lose curiosity or lose the will to do better every day, that's when you actually should start thinking, or you should have retired. Because one of the wonderful things about dentistry is, and just like with life, it's the constant is change. And that's what's fun about dentistry, is that it's always changing because we're always striving to better care for people. So that would be one piece of advice. The other is financial and fiscal responsibility. We are one of the highest wage earners, yet unfortunately our statistic is that when the time comes to retirement, there's a very small percentage of us that we can retire in the lifestyle we want. We tend to buy things, we tend to upgrade, and one of the many gifts that I receive from working with people that are retiring, I always ask them, what would you have done differently? You know, what can I give advice? Just like the question you asked me, what advice can I give to people that are just starting out? And they always say, live within your means, um, uh, have good sense of family, and that makes your life really great. And the three mantras I have in caring for people as a consultant is pro quality of life, pro work-life balance, and pro family. Because once you have all those in check, the rest is super easy, in my opinion. And that's what I coach on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that was so beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom and for sharing your story. And I know it's not like putting yourself out there, and yeah, telling us about your personal journey, just the struggles you had and how you overcame those. And it's so beneficial for me. That was so amazing. So I know that a lot of people it'll help people that are on their journey, and yeah, there's that unknown for them. So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. This was a lot of fun, Enzo.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.